Hello, my name is Taylor Pettis and welcome to today's presentation, Intro to SEO, How to Generate Productive Organic Traffic. As we all know, Google is much more than a search engine. It has become synonymous with searching anything on the internet. So we know people are using Google to find the information they need, and they're using it a lot. The question quickly becomes, will they find your content or your competitors the next time they Google? Today's presentation is designed to introduce you to SEO, and we'll get this from Nate Plant, Senior SEO Strategist at 3 Deep Marketing. Before I introduce Nate, I want to cover just a few housekeeping items. First of all, we hope the presentation will be both informative and interactive. To help make this interactive, please share your comments and questions in the chat area of the webinar screen. I'll also do my best to help Nate answer the questions during the presentation, so keep them coming. The next item is we are recording today's webinar, and all of this will be emailed to you following the event. So if you like what you see and want to share some of the cool new knowledge you have with your connections, please feel free to do so. We also have a next level SEO webinar coming up on July 30th, so don't miss that event as well. So after you learn everything here today, you can take it to the next level on July 30th. Now it's my pleasure to introduce Nate Plant. Nate is a Senior SEO Strategist at 3 Deep Marketing, a digital marketing agency that's located in St. Paul, Minnesota. He has experience on both the in-house and agency sides of search optimization. He has a passion for all things digital and has used his expertise to assist companies from small and medium-sized businesses all the way up to the Fortune 100s. So here's Nate Plant.
All right, thank you, Taylor. I appreciate that introduction. Hi, everybody. Thank you for coming. I'm really excited to talk a little bit about SEO with you all today. All right. So today's agenda, I'm just going to run through real quick. Taylor did a great introduction. I can't top that. For you guys, I'm going to lay out kind of what to expect, what you can take away from this webinar. I'm going to talk a little bit about how search engines work, talk about what SEO actually is, and some foundational and on and off page SEO basics that you can take away and some tactics you can implement right away. So again, here we are. The presenters of today, Taylor Pettis there, he's the Senior Marketing Manager at 3 Deep. Follow him on Twitter at that Twitter handle, and also connect with him on LinkedIn via that bit.ly link. And on the right there, that is me. I'm Nate Plant, the Senior SEO Strategist here. That is my Twitter handle there. And if you would like to learn a little bit more about SEO, that's a recent study done by Conductor, which is a leading industry SEO provider. 84% of all web traffic to the sites included in the study. In fact, 79% of search engine users say that they always or frequently click on the natural search results over the paid ads. Specifically within those results, the click-through rate of the positions on the first page is over 71%. So you can see it's really important to get your website ranking highly, specifically on the first page of those search engine results. Now, when I'm talking about the search engine results and what that looks like, let's have a look at this typical search engine results page here and what we have. Here in gold are the ads. These are the PPC, the businesses pay to be ranked highly for this search query. Then below that in purple, I have local or map results here. These are also organic to an extent, but specifically in this presentation, we're going to be looking at these organic results, the natural organic results, and here you can see the click-through rate of those two results on this page. So to sum it up again, does SEO really matter? I think the answer is a resounding yes, because really if you're not optimizing for search, you're missing out on that high ranking and you're already behind your competition. All right, so what to expect today? You're going to walk away with a solid understanding of how search engines operate. But more importantly, you're going to learn how to beat out your competition in the search engine results. Again, I'm going to give you some actionable tactics that you can implement today on your website. And I'm going to provide you the tools to implement these tactics. So moving along, what did you search today? This is a pretty familiar image that most of us see typically on a daily basis. When you type a search query into the Google search bar, what results come up and how many? The most important thing is what came up when you searched. So if you take a look again at a search results page, how did Google get 18 million results in less than half a second? How does it do that? Well, I'll tell you that search engines, they don't actually crawl the web in real time for every query. They actually categorize the web pages in their index, which is pre-crawled, so that they can easily retrieve these web pages and serve them up for your search query. This is really important because there are over 3.5 billion searches that happen every day on Google. And of those, 15% are actually brand new searches that have never been searched before. So if you think about it, that equals 525 million searches that have never been searched before every single day. Google needs to have and other search engines need to have a pretty good index of what's there in order to serve the results to answer that query. So in effect, Google is just a big library of all known resources on the web. And your entrance to this library is really just typing in your query to that search bar. So how do search engines work? Well, I'll tell you in a nutshell. The search engines, Bing, Google, Yahoo, and others, they have these spiders or crawlers or bots that they send out through the web, that they crawl all available websites, all available pages, and these spiders take notes on various information. These notes that they take help them to categorize these pages into easily retrievable categories or folders. So how do they do all this? Well, I'll tell you, it's a mathematical algorithm that each search engine has to help serve up the results of the query. So Google, in its algorithm, has over 200 ranking factors, and these are the things that it looks at to help decide where your site ranks. In addition, there's roughly 10,000 sub-factors, which are variations of the main factors, to help serve the results for those queries. Bing, conversely, has much fewer ranking factors in its algorithm. There's closer to 100 or so, and it relies heavily on various social factors in order to serve the results that it thinks its users are looking to answer. Now, within Google's algorithm, there's some key components that we're going to talk about today, and this is a study done by Moz, which is, again, another industry leader in the SEO vertical. 72 SEOs that were surveyed talked about what they think the most important components of the algorithm are. As you can see there, number one is the trust and authority of the host domain, and I'll talk more about what this is. Number two is the popularity of a page within that domain. 3 is the anchor text of the external backlinks, and 4 is the on-page keyword usage. And I'm going to show how you can attack these on your own website and make sure that you check all the boxes. So within the US, the search engine market share looks like this. Google is by far the big dog here. And so when I talk about search engines and optimizing for search engines, most of the time I'm talking specifically to Google because it is so prevalent in the US. However, a lot of the same tactics apply across Bing and Yahoo and everyone else, which is typically AOL, Ask Jeeves, and other smaller search engines like that. And as I mentioned before, not all results are organic results. So if you see this Google results page here, there's only 3 organic results that are actually visible above the fold. And it's for that reason that it's incredibly important to get your page up there because your business depends on it, essentially. So what is SEO exactly? Well, if you ask Wikipedia, it's going to tell you that search engine optimization is the process of affecting the visibility of a website or web page in a search engine's natural or unpaid search results. But to me, SEO is 2 things. Number 1, SEO is the practice of making your website as accessible as possible to the search engines. And number 2, it is ensuring your website is as useful and relevant to your current and prospective customers. So let's just take a look at what that looks like visually. I think about SEO as a pyramid like this, and any good pyramid builder will tell you that you need to start with the foundation to get the best result. SEO 101 today in this presentation, we're really going to look at these foundational elements. This is where we ensure that our site is accessible to the search engines. Taylor mentioned that we have an upcoming webinar at the end of July, SEO 201, and this is where we're going to talk to the higher levels here, the content strategy and content marketing. So for now, let's work on fixing your foundation. And we're going to look first off at some of those technical and structural factors that you can correct on your website to get the most bang for your buck organically. All right, so the goal here at this level of the pyramid is to ensure accessibility for the search engines and users. It is the foundation of your entire online presence, so it's critical that you get this step right. The great thing is that the search engines, Google, Bing, Yahoo, they have very clear guidelines for webmasters to follow when building sites, and for the most part, it is very, very similar or the same when it comes to the structural factors across all search engines. So here's the things that we're going to be looking for on your site at this level. Can your entire website be crawled? Is your website indexed by the search engines? Does your website have any errors? And is your page load time too slow? So how can you do this? Well, there's a number of different things to look at that can help you answer those questions. Number 1 is an XML sitemap, and I'll go into these in more depth in the following slides. Number 2 is an accurate Robots Txt File. Number 3 is Google Search Console. This is a free tool by Google that gives you tons of information about your site. And I'm going to talk a little bit about some page speed optimization and some tactics that you can do right now to identify where issues may lie and how to fix them. So what to avoid here? Again, in this step, we're really looking at making your site accessible as possible. And so any unnecessary hurdle for the search engines is definitely something to avoid here. And by unnecessary hurdle, I'm talking about developing your site in Flash or JavaScript or with URL parameters. And let me show you an example of, this is a real-time example of exactly what I'm talking about here. So let's take this website. It's weather.com. It's my go-to for when I need to figure out what the weather's going to be like during the weekend. If I can get home and take the kids out to the park, I love the functionality of it. And as you see, to a human visiting the site, this is a pretty good experience. It's got a lot of visuals. It's compelling. It pulls me in. I can read stories about different weather events. That's great. But this is what humans see. This site was developed delivering its content via JavaScript. So what do search engines see? Well, I'll tell you. Search engines see this. Nothing. And I tell you, no, this is not a glitch. This is not, we didn't lose connection here. This is actually what the website looks like when you disable JavaScript. And this is how it appears to the search engines. So as you can see, this is a pretty big issue for weather.com. They're just simply not showing up in search results because Google and Bing and Yahoo don't understand what's there. So here's where we're going to move forward and talk about some of those structural things where we can help the search engines understand our site a little bit better. And number 1, like I mentioned before, is an XML sitemap. What this is essentially a roadmap for your website that enables the search engines to efficiently crawl and index your site. As you see here, this is just an example of an XML sitemap. It's not much to look at for us users because it's not intended for users. It's intended for the search engine robots. It's an inventory of all the pages that we have, and we're essentially saying, hey, Google, here's all my pages, here's where you should find them, please crawl them and index them. This is one of the most basic files that every website should have. So if you want to check on your website right now, typically they're located at www.yourwebsite.com/sitemap.xml. If you don't know where to find it, you can start there. There are various tools here that can help you generate an accurate and up-to-date sitemap. My favorite is the Screaming Frog Spider. This is a crawler that goes through your site, and the output of it is an XML sitemap along with a plethora of other things that it finds on your site. You can check your URLs and title tags and other things like that. But I really highly recommend it. It's free to download, and it gives you limited information, and it's very affordable if you buy the premium version on a yearly basis. If you're using a CMS like WordPress, there's various plugins that can help you with this. One of my favorite is Yoast. It's kind of an all-in-one SEO package. It helps with your on-page optimization, as well as it auto-generates a sitemap. So every time you put up a new page, it's included in the sitemap. Really easy to use. And there's other web-based sitemap generators. For example, one of my favorites is xmlsitemaps.com. Really easy to use. You type your website in, it crawls through it, and it spits out an XML sitemap. Really, really easy. All right, so next I'm going to talk a little bit about the Robots Txt file. And this is bare bones, basic, necessary file number 2. The sitemap and the Robots Txt are like must-haves for your site. And what this file is a directive for all visiting bots. So not just search engines, but other crawlers going through the web. It essentially tells them what URLs to crawl or not to crawl. So typically we see this used similar to Nike here in this example, where you're telling a user agent, which is any bot or crawler visiting the site, we want you to disallow these 7 or 8 subfolders, whatever's listed there. And it just helps the crawlers to more efficiently navigate through your site, which is really important. And this is a simple text file. You can create it with Notepad and upload it to your site. Very, very easy to do, and very, very necessary. Here's a little pro tip for you guys. In Google Search Console, there's a Robots Txt testing tool, and I'll talk about Search Console in just a minute here. But there's a Robots Txt tester where it crawls your website, it finds your Robots Txt file, and here you could identify any errors or warnings that may be in that actual file, as well as you can check various URLs on your page, on your website, to see whether or not you're allowing the search engines to crawl them. All right, so Google Search Console, again, this is one of the most important tools in my arsenal. It's formerly called Google Webmaster Tools, and it is a free resource with tons and tons of valuable information for all website owners. It's really easy to use. You go to that URL there, you enter your website, and click Add Property, and almost immediately, it's going to prompt you to verify, so you'll have to either use your Google Analytics or upload a file to your site. But once you do that, you're going to almost immediately get a ton of valuable information, including crawl stats, search query information, any message that Google wants to send to you about your website, they send through this console. So it's really important for everybody to verify their site through this tool. All right, and I said I was going to talk about speed, so let's talk about speed. Why does speed matter? Well, number one is because last year, for the first time ever, mobile search overtook desktop search. And this is a pretty big event, because we're never going to go back. It doesn't go backwards. We're only going to be seeing more and more mobile search from here forward. That means the gap's going to widen. And fast page load speed is a critical part to optimizing for mobile. And this is just one example of why speed matters. But if you take a look here, oh, I'm sorry, the mobile get-in. Talk about this for a second. This was a thing that a line in the sand that Google drew back on April 21st, saying that from that point forward, it was going to reward sites for being more mobile friendly, meaning that they would rank higher in the search results. And so, from a mobile-friendly standpoint, or in a mobile search, this is what a well-optimized mobile site looks like. You see it gets that mobile-friendly designation, which is great. And speed is a big part of that. There's obviously other factors that come in when you're optimizing for mobile, but speed is huge. So how do you identify if you have speed issues? Well, Google has another tool, again, free to use. It's called the Page Speed Insights. And this gives you a prioritized roadmap on how to fix any speed issues that may be on your site. And I'm going to provide at the end of this presentation a slide that has links to all the tools that I talk about, and that'll be sent out with the email later on. So again, you go to this URL, type your website into the search bar, and it thinks for about 20 seconds, comes back with a speed optimization roadmap for both desktop and mobile. And I know it's hard to see on this slide, but there's a little link saying show how to fix underneath each recommendation, and that is exactly step by step how you fix that on your site. So if you have an in-house developer, this is a great URL to point them to say, hey, I think I've got some speed issues. Can you help me identify them and fix them? This gives them all the tools they need to fix those on your site. So with that, it kind of wraps up the structural and foundational level of the pyramid. I'm going to move up and talk a little bit about the on and off page factors that are important for organic visibility in SEO. So the on and off page factors, the goal here is to demonstrate relevance and authority of your website. Now, search engines are just like you. They want to stay in business. So in order to do so, they need to keep people coming back. And to keep people coming back, they need to provide the best answers to their questions. And so search engines want to provide users with search results that are relevant to their query and authoritative in nature. Building upon that solid technical foundation that we built earlier, we want to make sure here that the search engines and the users are both able to fully understand what the various pages on our website are all about. So before we move forward, I want to talk a little bit about on-page versus off-page SEO. So as the name implies, on-page SEO, this refers to factors that you can control directly on your website. So, and some examples here are the metadata, and these are like page titles, alternative image text, heading tags, different coding things, the internal links on your site content, and as well as the technical and structural things that I talked about earlier. Off-page SEO, this refers to factors that are typically out of your control on other websites. Some examples here are the inbound links coming that you're gaining from other sites, social media in terms of the amplification of your content, mentions of your brand, and local directories if you're a local location-based business are really, really important. All right, so what do we look for at this level? Well, number one, are all of your on-page elements optimized? Really important for both users and search engines to understand your pages. What keywords are you ranking for? This is great to know. You can identify gaps in your content, or if you think you should be ranking somewhere else, well, maybe we can figure out why we're not. Who is linking to you? Again, another important thing to know. Backlinks are incredibly important when it comes to organic visibility. And who's linking to your competitors? From a standpoint of competitive assessment, obviously you want to know what your competitors are doing. So here's what we look for in terms of the on-page SEO elements, and I'm going to break these down in the next couple of slides for you, but here's just a list of the things we look at: URL, the metadata elements, and then page copy, image text, things like that. So where do those things live on a page? Well, let's take a look. This is a typical product page, and the page title, that's That's right there at the top, that little tab. What that is the main topic of the page. This page title needs to be unique. Each page should have its own title, and it needs to be descriptive. Also, you should probably include your brand name in your page titles, but at the end of them typically, not at the beginning. Next up, URL. Again, this is it needs to be descriptive, and it needs to be readable by both humans and by search engines. Again, unique. Each page should have its own unique URL. Duplicate URLs are a no-no. The H1 heading. This is, again, the main topic of the page. It's typically, we see the heading used as a font sizer as well. So most of the time you're going to have the bigger bolded words wrapped in an H1 tag. And it's important here that you note that this needs to be unique as well. So only one H1 heading per page. More than that, and it gets confusing to the search engines as to what that page is actually about. So one H1 per page. Next up here, alternative image text. We do this for the search engines because unlike human visitors, search engines cannot see an image. If they crawled through this page and saw that image, they would see that there was a file representing something there. Without that alternative image text, they wouldn't know that that is a picture of cat shampoo. So it needs to be descriptive and keyword rich. And then finally, H2 headings. These are the subtopics that fall in alignment with what the rest of the page is. So in this example, the details of the product and the reviews on the product. These are all important things to call out. And then finally here, page copy. This is obviously an important element. This is visible to both humans and search engines, and it gives cues about what that page is about. Again, it should be descriptive and unique and keyword rich. I can't stress enough, you need to have unique content on each page. Duplicate content causes so many issues, so do try to write unique content for each page. All right, so let's break these down a little bit and see an example of a good page title and an example with a bad page title. So let's look at our search query for cat shampoo. Here is an example of a good page title. And the title here is that blue letter at the very top of the result there. What the title is telling me is that that page is about cat shampoos and conditioners, and it's on PetSmart. This is a great page title. It's succinct, it's to the point. It tells me that that is an answer to my query, and that it's coming from an authoritative source, PetSmart. As a result, this page is ranked #1 for the keyword phrase cat shampoo. And now here's a not so good one. For that same query, this result comes up: pet, pediatric, party animal, funny apple, cat shampoo, and it's cut off with an ellipses. So not only is it confusing up front, I don't understand, maybe that's the brand or the business name, but unnecessary words, party animal, funny apple, those are things that I'm not searching for party animal, funny apple, cat shampoo ever. Maybe somebody is. So that would answer that query. But for this query, it's not very good. It's too long. And as a result, it's ranked number 245. There's a lot of opportunity there with that result to jump up the rankings with just a little tweak to its page title. All right, so talked about page titles. The next thing that a search engine looks at is the URL structure of a page. And again, we want this to be readable by both humans and search engines. It should clearly state what that page is about. And so again, for that same query, cat shampoo. Here's a good one, and it's petsmart.com/cat/shampoo conditioner, and then some internal categorization. But this tells me and search engines that what to expect on that page is that we're in the cat area of the website, and then we're in the shampoo and conditioner area. So that's great. Perfect URL structure. As a result, they're ranked #1. Here's an example of a bad URL structure. These guys, for that same search query, this page comes up. Weekmans.com/webapp/WCS. I don't see anything in there that tells me that that's about cats or about shampoo, or that it's answering it's providing an answer to my query. Search engines obviously don't see that either because that one comes up at number 260. So you can see the differences between good and bad and start to think about that on your own website. You know, how is my URL structure structured, and is there opportunity to fix it up? One more thing that we want to look at here that I didn't talk about before is the meta description. The meta description is one of those elements that we optimize as SEOs, but you don't actually see it on the page. The meta descriptions are typically only seen in search engine results pages, and they're the little snippet of text that lies in that result. It's important to optimize these because these are essentially the elevator pitch for that page. If you want someone to click on your result over the result below it or above it, a compelling and well-written meta description that's relevant to that search query can really help with that. So again here, best practice is to write this for a human. Write it for, you know, how would you want somebody, what would you want to read about that page? What do you want to provide? What's the information you want to provide about that page? And how are you going to get them to click? Including a call to action is a great thing here. What you don't want to do is write one that's going on and on and on and on because it gets cut off with an ellipses, just like that second result there. So let's look at a search engine result on both a mobile and desktop device to see why it's so important to really optimize these different on-page elements. As you can see, this is a desktop result, and this is again that same search query, cat shampoo. As you can see, it's a busy page. You got ads there, you have images, you got shopping results, and then down at the very bottom, you've got the 2 organic results. And so obviously it pays to be up there on this page, but you get a lot of competition for people to click on. Not on mobile. On mobile, those are gone, and you just have the results. So if you optimize well, yes, you're going to rank highly on desktop, but more importantly, on a query like this, where you've got some local intent to it, and Google wants you to say, wants to serve the result that's best for the user, you're optimizing those on-page elements, you're ranking highly, people are clicking, and you're selling product. All right, so now let's look at what keywords you rank for. But before I do, there's a couple of ground rules here. Number one is don't Google yourself. This is not a very good representation of how you're ranking for various search queries for a number of reasons. I told you before that there's the 200 main ranking factors and 10,000 sub-factors. A lot of these things have to do with personalization. So in your search result, or in your own Google, if you're clicking on a typical one type of result, Google's going to understand that you as a user like that thing, and so that will rank higher than other things. Additionally, for location-based queries, Google changes its results every 2 miles. So if you're sitting on one end of Minneapolis and you're searching for a cat groomer, the results are going to be vastly different from on the other end of Minneapolis. It all is based on location. So don't treat this as the end-all be-all of how you're ranking. What you do want to do is use a keyword tracking tool. And I've included a couple of my favorites here. SEMrush, this is a great freemium tool is what they call it. Free to get a little bit of information, you got to pay for a little bit more. And this it gives you a great visual of your ranking universe. And then for those of you who are brick and mortar locations, Bright Local is an incredible tool to use because it allows you to search for specific search queries from specific zip codes and see where you rank at those locations. So I highly recommend these two. I'm going to show you here in this slide what I'm talking about here. And this is SEMrush. This is the keyword tracking tool that we use here at 3D. It's great because you type in a domain, in this case it's petco.com. What you get is an output of where they're ranking organically right now. You have the ability through this tool to actually create a campaign where you can monitor over time, but it tells this information is important because if you have a page about, your Petco, you have a page about cat collars that are camo, but you're not ranking for that term, maybe you need to do a better job optimizing to start ranking for that. All right, I'm going to move to off-page SEO here. The three things that I'm going to touch on in this section are backlinks, the anchor text within those backlinks, and then citations or brand mentions out there on the web. Now, there's one distinction I want to make here when we're talking about backlinks. There's two different kinds, internal and external. Obviously, internal are those ones that are on your site, and external are those coming into your site from an external site. These are both really useful and important, but for different reasons. So specifically here, I'm going to talk about those external backlinks and how they help. Essentially, external backlinks are votes for the pages on your site. It's, site owner A going, you know what, this site over here, they've got great content. I'm going to raise my hand and vote for them with a backlink. Generally speaking, the more links that you have from authoritative sources, the more your site's trusted, and the better your pages are going to rank. Now, by authoritative sources, what do I mean? Well, I'll give you an example here. Say this is your website in the middle, and you had a great write-up by the New York Times. And so you got a link back to your site from that. This is a good link from an authoritative and trusted source. Google likes this one. He gets 2 thumbs up. Maybe you sell your product through a reseller, and they link back to your site for more information on the product specifics. This is also a great link. It's super relevant. These are the types of links that Google wants to see. And then maybe there's an industry blog where they're talking about your product and how it's better than somebody else's product. This is, again, a really good link, really relevant to what it is you provide. What you want to avoid are shady links or links from a shady site. And these are links that look completely unnatural or that come from a totally unrelated site. So example, maybe you sell Windows, but you have a bunch of links from some other sites talking about software. That doesn't make a lot of sense to Google, and they actually apply filters, all search engines, that filter out sites that have a lot of these irrelevant links. If you have too many of these types of links on your site, you may even get hit with a penalty by Google, which is really bad. Then they just remove you from the index, and you have to work hard at getting back in the good graces. So avoid these links. Build your links organically through great website content. Don't pay for links. All right, so the next thing to talk about here is the anchor text that's used in that link. This is another important element because it helps both search engines and users, by the way, understand where they're going to land when they click on that. We're conditioned as people to want to click on text that's blue and underlined. That we all know that that's the symbol that this is a link somewhere. And so the text used in that helps give more cues about that destination page. So as an example, if your site is about cats, the anchor text of cats would be preferable over click here, which is very generic and non-specific. So obviously you can't control what people link to you with all the time. So you're going to have some of these click here's and website and generic terms like that. But internally, you can control what the anchor text is. Be specific and descriptive. All right, so I'm going to move on to who's linking to you. And this is important to know. I mentioned for all the reasons that you want to have, all the reasons you want to have great authoritative links, but I also touched on why you don't want to have bad links. So it's simple to do just a quick backlink audit on your site just to see what's out there. Log into your Google Search Console, navigate down to the links to your site section, and then check out both who links the most and to what content is linked the most. They have 2 sections there. It's really great to just kind of get a feel for what people are interested in your site. And now a little pro tip here. This is going to help you to inform future content. So say you have a page and you're selling cat costumes and you have a lot of people linking to your Santa Claus costume. Well, maybe that's an indication that more holiday themed content is what people are looking for, and you can develop content based on what's popular already. All right, so who's linking to your competitors? This is one of those things that it's always fun to dig through somebody else's sock drawer a little bit and see what's out there. So you want to conduct a competitive link analysis, and to do so, use a tool called Open Site Explorer. This is another great tool by Moz. It's at that URL. Again, I'll provide this all to you guys for your use. And then you enter your competitor's site into the search bar. What you do here is you dig through their backlink profile and see what's actively linking to them. Maybe they have a partnership with a local chamber, or Sally's beauty shop down the street. You want to see where there's the opportunity, and again, a little pro tip here, to identify where you can acquire some of those same links and even out that playing field, so that if you have better links in addition to these links, you're going to be ranking higher than your competition. All right, and finally, I want to talk a little bit about citations. These are critical for location-based businesses, and I'm talking about those brick-and-mortar things like a hair salon or a plumber or a auto repair shop. What these are a mention of your brand on another site, like a listing directory. So listing directories are things like Yelp and Yellow Pages and City Search, and here's just an example of what those listings look like on yellowpages.com. The important part about these is that the citations remain consistent and accurate across your citation universe. This is because Google uses these to corroborate that you are exactly who you say you are and where you say you are. So when Google's serving a result for a user in Minneapolis, it needs to know that the result is actually located in Minneapolis and that it's going to benefit that user's query. So specifically, the things to keep in mind are name, address, and phone number, and these need to be consistent and accurate across all listings. Pro tip here, check up your listings. Use Moz Local. This is a great, again, free tool that you type in your business name and your zip code, and it pulls back all the known listings of you, and it gives you a score. And from that score, you can do some different things. You can click in and you can capture some missing listings, or you can fix some incorrect ones. But consistency. It's really important to keep this in mind if you're going through things like a move. If you're moving a physical address, you got to think about the SEO ramifications here. Maybe you're rebranding. That's really important to think about. Okay, how's this going to affect my organic visibility for local-based search? All right, so we finished up with the presentation. I just want to review a couple of things with you before I let you go. Number one, if done right, SEO is a distinct competitive advantage. And to do it right, you need to get the foundation right first. After that, you optimize your pages, optimize your off-page presence, and then move up the pyramid. Now again, we just talked about the foundational things in the 101 today, and this is just ensuring that your site is as accessible as it can be to the search engines. Come back for SEO 201 at the end of next month. This is where we're going to talk about the content side of things and ensuring that your site is really answering the questions that your customers have. And I'm going to leave you with one last thing here, is that SEO is not a one and done thing. Websites change, products disappear, maybe website migrations happen. So this needs to be something that's an ongoing thing. As you develop new content, you need to make sure it's optimized. As you remove content, you need to make sure that it's done in the correct way, and just continually move up the pyramid. So thank you, everybody. I appreciate your time. I'm opening up to questions right now.
So thanks, Nate, for leading today's webinar. And so it was very insightful. I know that I'm definitely walking away with a few more tips. As Nate mentioned, we're going to leave a few minutes here for some questions. We have about 10-15 minutes left. So please enter your questions in the chat field and even give him a little bit of virtual applause, if you will. A couple of announcements, just that while we have a quick second here. So if you visit our site, we'll be sending out a link after today's webinar. Nate and his team are going to be offering a free SEO scan for, I think, up to 20. So yes, up to 20 qualified companies. So if you're interested in seeing how your website performs in the SEO world, visit the link that we'll be sending out following today's webinar. The other thing is, as it's been mentioned before, there is a next level SEO presentation. That is July 30th. We'll be sending out a link for that, and we hope that you will join us for that. So it's one of the ways that you can continue your pathway to becoming an SEO expert. While I gather some questions here, there's one question I had, Nate, that came up was, you talked a little bit about Google penalties. Say more about Google penalties.
Sure. Yeah. So Google, I'm sure you've heard of our friendly little fuzzy animals, the penguin and the panda. These are algorithmic filters that Google applies to its search results, and it updates its algorithm actually daily. But these specifically are around quarterly or maybe every 6 months or so. Within each, both panda and penguin, there's actually manual penalties associated with sites that look to be intentionally going against guidelines. So in the case of like a manual penguin penalty, this deals with people that are trying to manipulate their ranking by getting a lot of shady backlinks, a lot of these irrelevant or unnatural links, maybe participating in link wheels or link schemes. Basically a big no-no and against the guidelines. With Panda, this really looks at the content on the page. And so where you can get dinged here is if you have a lot of thin content or a lot of duplicated content. An example of this would be like a local plumber or a local company like Roto-Rooter or something, where you create a whole bunch of the same pages and just change one or two things like the location. For example, like plumbers in Minneapolis, we serve Minneapolis area, blah 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 blah, and all that duplicated thin content is going to flag that Panda filter, and you could get a manual penalty for that.
Perfect. So another one for blogging. What should I do to boost my SEO? So it sounds like this person out there is a blogger and probably looking just for a couple quick tips to enhance their SEO on their blog posts.
Yeah, great question. So right there, what you want to focus on is the on-page optimization. And even before that, ideation of the blog should really be informed by keyword research. And I didn't talk too much to that in this webinar because that's going to be talked about pretty heavily in the 201. But if you go into the Google AdWords Keyword Planner and just type a head term topic into there, it's going to spit out a whole bunch of examples of other terms that people are searching for. And that should give you an idea of something to blog about. Additionally, just the Google search, the predictive search that comes up when you start typing in the Google search bar, that gives you an indicator of what some other popular topics are or some other popular questions that people are asking. So if you can create a blog post that's an answer to a popular question, you're typically going to get some pretty good traffic around that.
It's a great tip. So when doing SEO, do you need to build for all search engines? So it sounds like there's 3 different search engines or 3 recognizable ones out there. Do you need to build different websites for Google and Bing? And
that's a great question. And really at this level, we're looking at the foundational stuff. Google and Bing and Yahoo will all tell you the same things at this level. Your website needs to be accessible to us. Don't do the stuff like Flash and JavaScript content. Have a website that we can crawl. And so at this level, when we talk about optimizing for Google, we're actually at the same time optimizing across different search engines. And this includes international ones like Yandex and Baidu are big in Russia and China. They have the same guidelines at this structural level as Google does. So if you follow Google's Webmaster Guidelines, you're going to get the thumbs up from most all other search engines.
So another question here, how often do search engines index websites? So I think you covered it a little bit, that search engines index websites in your presentation, but how often does this happen?
Well, that's another great question, and Google crawls websites every day. However, it may not crawl every page of your website every day. The best way to tell Google that you have some new content is through the Google Search Console. If you create a page or you change the content on a page, there's actually an application in there where you can go in and submit a URL to Google. And right from there, you can actually submit it to the index, and within 24 to 48 hours, Google's going to include that in its index. So it's a little extra nudge or push to Google to say, hey, I just created some new content. Instead of you finding it on your own, I'm going to make it easy for you and just tell you it's there, and then that way Google can put it in the index.
Perfect. So does posting to YouTube and Google Plus enhance SEO? So I think that Google owns YouTube and obviously Google Plus. So does sharing content there give you a little bit of an edge when playing with Google?
Well, yes and no. The answer to that, for Google Plus, actually, if you are logged into your Google Plus and you have a lot of followers, and your followers are logged in, they like to serve that content that's shared by their followers to the followers within Google. They understand that you have this relationship here on the platform, so that relationship really should carry over to the search results. And so at times this is actually the personalization factor, again, in one of the sub-factors there where what Google's looking at. If you are connected with somebody in your circles and they have a business and you're searching for a product and they sell it, they're going to know to serve that web page up in those search results. And it doesn't stop there. The creepy thing about Google is that it knows if you have a Gmail account, it understands who you're emailing with back and forth. And so if those people have a website and they're selling a product, you're going to get results from them as well too. So it's this constant personalization that Google wants you to get the best result possible. In terms of YouTube, it doesn't necessarily help you in Google organic search, but creating content, video content that's compelling will show up in organic results. And so it's another opportunity for you to get more real estate in the search engine results.
I love this one right here. So why should I do SEO when I can do paid advertising?
Well, again, great question. Paid advertising and SEO are very similar to renting versus owning. So if you want to live downtown in a ritzy apartment and have all the fixins, you can do that, but you're going to pay a premium price. And once you're done paying for that, it's gone. You no longer get that traffic. You no longer get that benefit. SEO is really doing those honey-do lists around the house. It's painting the outside. It's updating your windows. It's adding ceiling fans. It's the boring kind of unsexy stuff. But once you're done, you have that equity in your site that is really going to pay dividends for years to come. So hope that helps to answer that question there.
So we have time just for maybe one or two more, and this is actually one of the questions that I had. So what are some, well, let me say it this way. What are some of the most common errors that you see in SEO?
Yeah, we do, as Taylor mentioned, we do what's called an SEO scan, and if you would like if you'd like us to do one on your website, they're free of charge. We'll do it for you. And from those scans, some of the most typical errors that we see have to do with URLs, like parameter use in the URLs, dynamic characters, underscores. All search engines kind of prefer hyphens over underscores as a separator. Additionally, page titles being duplicated. Sometimes when you create a new page, you just copy and paste a template on your website, and people don't know that it copy and pastes everything. So you get duplicated page titles, meta descriptions, heading tags, and all that stuff. So it's just the little things here and there on the on page. Additionally, if we're talking about structural things, 404 errors are a big thing, and I didn't really talk about that in this presentation, but these are when you go to a page on a website and it says page not found. This is a dead end. It's a dead end for users. It's a dead end for search engines. We want to eliminate these on your site. Frequently, this is something that kind of gets away from website owners, which is okay, but we just have to redirect those to a new URL. So yeah, 404 errors, duplicate page titles, and improper URL structure.
And so I think the last question we have time for here, it's related to Google's last update, and I know you talked a little bit about it in there, but how does this affect mobile? Or maybe let's twist it this way, because you already did mention that it affects mobile. What are some of the results since then?
You know, initially when that update came out, the first couple weeks after, there wasn't a lot of results, or it wasn't a lot of change, because Google said, hey, this is a rolling update. You're going to see some changes down the road. Now, 2 months later, we're starting to see some shakeups. They're actually their word is good on this one, where they're saying, hey, for mobile queries, and this only affects mobile. It doesn't affect your desktop rankings or your desktop organic visibility. It affects your mobile visibility. Those sites that did not optimize for mobile or did not create a mobile presence if they were missing one are really actually underperforming what they used to do. Or conversely, the sites that do have a mobile presence are way outperforming some of the other ones. They did a study recently, and they were monitoring like 10,000 keywords just to watch for what happens from this mobile get-in. And there was a 50% shakeup in the top 5 over that time period of 2 months since it's been released or so. And so, yeah, we're starting to see some big results. My professional advice to you as an SEO is get a mobile site. It's the way of the future. It's how people are searching, and it will never go back to just desktop.
Wow, that's great insight. So thank you so much for sharing everything today. I think that's all we have time for. I know there's a couple questions we didn't have a chance to get to, but please do contact Nate. I know that he'll be more than happy to respond via email or via Twitter. But thank you again for taking the time to spend it with us today. We really appreciate it. We hope that you'll check out the email that we send out as a follow-up. It will include some great links from Nate, also a recording of this presentation in case you want to share it with your friends. And then also, don't forget about our presentations coming up on July 30th, and we hope that you'll continue your pathway to becoming an SEO expert. So thank you again for your time, and thank you, Nate, for presenting.
Thank you.